You're listening to Living Out Loud with my mom, Michelle Flamer. Yep, she's a flamer and proud of it. Get ready to learn about queers in your communities doing great things every week.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming back to Living Out Loud. And today I'm really excited. I know I say that a lot, but every time I get a cool new guest, I'm excited. So today on Living Out Loud, we're joined by someone who has spent his entire life lifting up the people and communities around him. Rick McCartney is a father, husband, small business owner, and longtime Arizona leader who believes deeply in the power of connection, compassion, and community. Raised by a single mother who was a school teacher, Rick grew up understanding the quiet strength of service. It's a thread that runs through everything he touches, from creating jobs here in Arizona to mentoring young people, supporting workforce development, and championing equality. And now he's stepping into a new chapter, running for Congress in Arizona's first district with a vision rooted in affordability, opportunity, and dignity for every family. What I love about Rick and why I wanted him on the show today is that he brings heart to politics. He's not a career politician. He's someone who knows what it's like to raise a family, build something from scratch, struggle, hope, and still believe in a better future. He's guided by values and not ego, and by service and not status. We're going to talk about his journey, the issues he's fighting for, and the moments in his life that shaped the man sitting here today. And of course, we'll have a little fun with some rapid fire at the end. Rick, welcome to Living Out Loud.
Hey, Michelle, thank you for having me. You know I'm so excited. I
I
love your
know,
show, I love your personality, and certainly I'm happy to talk about what we think can make a difference and change in this world.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And we met just to let let the
yeah,
listeners know a little bit. We met at a 1 in 10 event, and of course, gay, lesbian, trans youth at the forefront of that beautiful organization. And I
yeah.
love how you have been very, very involved, and it's very cool.
Very involved and engaged with that particular organization for the last 10 years. It's making a difference, and that is what's important to me.
I agree. Okay, so before we kind of we're not in 2025 or 2024 at the moment,
Oh,
right?
thank God.
Ah,
A little
we're going,
crazy, isn't it? Yeah,
I know it's nuts. And we're going back to sort of where you began your journey in life, and I just would love to share this with the listeners so that to know you is to know sometimes where you come from, right?
yeah.
That like creates that's that integrity piece of a person, like, and the heart of somebody. And a lot of people can usually resonate with those kinds of stories. So I'm gonna hand it to you and tell us
Sure.
what we got going on.
Yeah,
Where you
so grew
began.
up. Yeah, thank you. I love this. I love to start there too. Grew up near the beach as a young boy and in a family that was sort of the perfect family. I mean, we thought it was. My older brother and my younger brother really enjoyed the life that we had. We enjoyed school. My mother, as you said earlier, was a school teacher. Um, Someone that really brought that sort of atmosphere home. It was always get your homework done and then go out and play, and we were able to do that. And for years, it was this blissful, just wonderful childhood, very fortunate, very lucky. At one point, my dad, who was a builder, he built shopping centers, really, commercial, sustainable shopping centers. They wanted him up in Portland, Oregon. So we were pulled from what we knew and what we loved to another place in fifth grade. And I have to tell you, I got up there and we were, my brothers and I, kicking and screaming. It was hard for us, obviously, at that age. But, my parents did everything they could to make it as normal and as exciting and as adventurous and loving as possible. And they did a really great job. And that, I believe, became fairly stressful on my mother because between the two of them, ultimately they were struggling. And so my mother wanted to move back down to California. My dad didn't. He was successful up there, and that separated them and that separated this family. And, I will say at the time, I didn't know a lot about it. I didn't feel too much about it. My dad and I were never that close. And so it made it on occasion kind of a little normal that he wasn't around. And so we moved back down to Southern California, and lived our life there for a while. And then my mother really did love Oregon. I mean, it was something she really had a passion for. She loved the adventure in all of it and what it brought for my brothers and I. It was always really important to her that she be focused on, what's good for the kids, but not what's spoiling the kids. Let's go out and let's see the world, let's test, let's check it out. And as a result, my brothers and I just never had a fear of going anywhere. We used to go down to Mexico all the time, to Baja. Um, we had the SUV of the day, right? I mean, this is the late 70s, I hate to say, but it was a time when, that Volkswagen van was the SUV. And so my mother would drive that thing. We'd go through Tijuana, right down to Ensenada, always stopping off at this amazing tortilla factory where we'd get hot tortillas. She always brought her margarine because it was the 70s. And so that was the thing on the shelf that everybody needed. And I think back to that and I just cringe. Can't believe we would sit there and eat that. But we loved it. And she would butter them and, pass them back to us. And so there were good memories, even though, later in life I would see that there was an effect to me not having my dad around. My mom, I think, being more sad than she would ever let on. But overall, it was a great childhood. We did a lot together. We knew what it meant, to be connected to our community. We knew that my mother always felt it was important that my brothers and I were gentlemen and that we worked really hard. Someone walked by, you say hi to them, that kind of thing. And, cut to later when I had my son, at that moment, you start to really recognize those pieces of your life that you pass through potentially, that you're not totally sure, did it really happen or did I just think about that? Until you have your own child, you start walking through it and you start realizing, right? You start
They're
realizing
such
that these things,
mirrors for us.
yes, for sure. I remember one time him sitting in front of the TV with his arms up like this, laying on his stomach and his feet up behind him, watching the TV. And I thought, God, I have not been in that position for years, number one. But number two, my brothers and I, that's how we would watch TV, in the evening, that kind of thing. So great memories. I mean, good, solid childhood, not without its issues. I mean, certainly, you grow up later in life and you focus on those things and make change as a result.
Yeah, definitely. When did your coming out journey sort of in that timeline? When did that
Yeah,
sort of
there was
happen
no
for you?
part, it was very late in life for me. After
Mm,
Cameron was 16 years old, that I felt like I needed to really just be myself. But
wow.
I had hidden it through my entire life. Not because I felt my family wasn't going to be there for me,
Mm,
but because of the stigma that I thought it was going to present for my entire life. And
mm,
so I always told myself I was going to have to live in this place where I knew who I was internally and in and of myself and be focused on the external life that I felt like I needed to live to be a good citizen, to make a difference, to make a living, and later be a great father, that kind of stuff. So it was years later, when he was 16, a junior in high school, and I met someone, and it turned into, exactly what I had always felt I wanted in life. There was an honesty, there was an openness. It became less about what everybody else thought was right for me and more about what I knew was right for me as this strong citizen, somebody who cared, somebody that was so invested in our community. I realized, look, I have every right to be who I am, and I can present as that and be, it's never been the first thing that I ever lead with. It's never been my
right.
focus. It's me, it's my life, and I have
Mhm.
this right to live it. It just took me an awful long time to really feel comfortable enough and feel like, based on the time frame that I was raised in the late 70s, all the 80s, boy, that was fun, and the 90s, growing up in that time, there was so much stigma that I had fear when I told my son at 16 years old. I was running the football program as the dad's club for his major high school. And I was worried about telling Cameron. I wanted to tell his mother, obviously, initially, because I knew that this was not really as much about me or her. It was more about Cameron himself. And she and I had been divorced for years and raising him, individually, and very happily. Um, And I finally went to her and said, look, this is who I am. And she kind of had a sense, but was not, I wouldn't say she was shocked by it. She was very open and very happy about it. By this time, we'd been divorced for 14 years, and it was not really related to that. It was more about us being friends and her being supportive, which was wonderful. And then talking about what we do to tell our 16-year-old son. And this is 10, 11 years ago. So, even doing that math 10, 11 years ago, I was still worried that as soon as his father came out, that my son would have issues at school, that kind of thing. And I remember it being so different. It's what's so wonderful about really choosing to be who you are. You have these ideas about things, but until you really stand for yourself and until you really experience those moments that define you truly, because now you're being who you are, he would come home. Every time he would come home from football, I'd say, well, how did it go? Any problems, any issues? Dad, no one cares. Dad, no one gives a blank. I mean, over and over, he would say that. And I finally came to realize very quickly that it was generational, certainly. There are still issues and stigma. Of course, we're still fighting hard for various rights so that people can actually be who they want to be. I believe that it is our right to do that. I believe that our government should be there to protect that for everyone. I really believe that. I talk about it a lot on my campaign trail. So it was, I wouldn't say tough. It was a load off my shoulders for sure, but it was absolutely me being me.
Which parent do you think you got this sort of drive from? I always am fascinated if it's one parent or the other, or, or both.
I was so close to my mother because she was so dynamic. She was
Mm,
always very adventurous, as I said earlier. She was someone who worked very hard to ensure that my brothers and I had experienced the world that was before us, that we not only fit into that world, but that we experienced it. I mean, like us driving through Tijuana. I mean, we would not just drive through and be blinded by what was going on, people living in cardboard boxes. My mother would talk about it. And early on, it was my mother and father together. And, they made um, certainly made no one feel uncomfortable about what their economic status may have been. We got there and we were their guests in Ensenada, as an example. We would get there and do a lot of our traditional things and ended up having some friends for a very long time in my life because we would visit there. And it was all because my mother would introduce us, would, say, boys, behave, pay attention. This is their community, these kinds of things. I mean, I won't bore you with all the stories and examples, but there were great stories and examples. She was the type we'd finish dinner and it's like, let's go walk the streets and talk to people and, things along those lines that just made it so fun and so enjoyable. And I really feel like I passed that along to my son, who's now 28 years old.
love it.
So, I mean, a lot of years later, and he's a gentleman. He cares
Mhm.
about others. He knows, who he is. I really feel like he knows who he is. So he'll walk into a room or we'll go to St. Vincent de Paul and do some volunteering there. We've gone to food pantries, the different things that we've done throughout the years to help the community because maybe we have something they don't. It has always been a seamless transition and a wonderful experience. One of my favorite stories that identifies, I think, why it's so important that we raise our children this way. We were going to a nonprofit, and I won't mention it, but we were going to a nonprofit to cook dinner for the families that were staying there. And the families were there because their kids were in the hospital. So not a great time for these families. And I had set up a date. They had asked us, to do everything, bring everything. We got a few other friends. And I said, is it okay if I bring my son? I think at the time I want to say he was 8, 9, or 10 years old. I
Such a
can't.
good age for this kind of thing.
Agreed. But the organization said, you know what? I don't know. We don't really do that.
Oh,
And I said, well,
interesting.
aren't there kids that are going to be there? I mean, they must have siblings and oh yeah, there are tons of other kids. Well, I think it'd be great. I know Cameron, has had experience working with, young kids and things like that. So I think it would be really a wonderful thing to experience that. We went to the nonprofit. She said, yes, certainly, let's try it out. We went to the nonprofit and it changed their policy because it was so evident that these kids wanted to play with someone who was willing to show them things. And he was always one of those people that I would watch my son in those circumstances. And, I'd see him patting someone on the back or helping someone else out. And I mean, as a parent, there is nothing that feels greater about keeping those kids, definitely in check. I mean, come on, I'm a tough dad. I was always told it's tough love with Rick, but the reality is you also have to know how to nurture their adventure side, right? What it is that they want to be interested in life. And, set some ground rules. I think it's very clear and very safe to do those kinds of things.
Yeah, I do too. I think I have a 14-year-old, so we're in a different world now with this age. I mean, but I love that she totally will go, to those places with us. I love to the food pantries and things like that because I think it's just so important and valuable when our children are fortunate enough to have choices in life where, you know, because our parents showed us that we had choices. And I mean, it's really, it runs downstream a little bit in that way. So I think, showing our kids the other side of life, I think is kind of a critical value to teach them early on.
I mean, it's part of all of our lives, right? We focus
Yes.
a lot on privilege versus those that don't have, and that's a reality. And I think we continue that. I'm very much a proponent of understanding, where you come from and what you might be able to offer or be a part of for others without making it a burden for them to make it that process.
Of- of-
Um, I've learned a lot in the last 10 years about what that means, what individuals who are, whether they're disabled or impoverished or, whatever the circumstance might be, they're people. They want that one person who can be there for them and help them and nurture them through it, or sometimes just listen to them. I mentor two youth who are now 25 and 26, or 25 and 20, 24 and 25 is what they are. And they are wonderful young men. They grew up in very poor circumstances. The group that I worked with to mentor them was a program that was about a 6-month program to really learn, what we needed to do and be as mentors to be able to go through the process of helping these youth in their lives, helping their families in some cases, although that wasn't really part of the program. It was more about these youth getting through school. And honestly, I mean, the lesson in that for me is looking back and knowing, yes, one person can make a difference. And they made a difference in my life, which is the more important piece to it. It's all of us coming together and finding that commonality and doing what's best for our community, our family, um, or ourselves.
Yeah. And that brings us sort of to this time and era now creeping in on 2024. I mean,
Mhm.
getting to know you a little bit at that, at the 1 in 10 thing, I realized this was not an overnight thought. I mean, you running for Congress is not something you willy-nilly into. So I would love to understand your process, your thinking, where you were at the time, sort of paint that picture for us.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, running for Congress in a district that is considered one of the top most flippable districts in the country. It's now an open seat in Arizona's first congressional district.
Yes.
And it was really born out of me going to community leaders, to elected officials, to business leaders, and saying, who do we get behind so that we can flip this seat? I mean, I was very much about not being all partisan, but realizing that a lot of the stuff and the destruction that was happening in this country was not something that I personally believed was right for the people of this district or for the people of this country. I don't think you have to be a tough leader and be cruel. I don't think you can be a tough leader or be confident and be critical. I don't think there are reasons for those parts which just fundamentally hurt others and take away from others, while certain people profit. And so I knew I needed to run. I knew I needed to flip this seat. The person that was in the seat, and still is as a representative, is somebody that was connected to this administration that has been so cruel and unusual. And I use that term purposefully. And so I realized that running for Congress was something that we needed to find the right person to get in there, someone who could be a powerful leader but not be cruel, someone who did know the issues and understood what would be beneficial for the people of this district, not by dictating any one thing, but by listening to the people of this district, by being exposed to this community over years. And the people that I was talking to about us finding that person kept saying, Rick, you need to do this. This sounds like your resume. It sounds like what you've done throughout your career. And, at first you hear something like that and you think, no, because for me, this is not about ego or entitlement. I am running to make a difference. I am running to do something for the people of this district and to empower opportunity, but in a smart way, knowing that you have to talk to everybody in this district, knowing that people's politics are important to them. And representation means listening to that, paying attention to it, finding what we can do to, in some cases, compromise, in other cases, find new ways to deliver solutions for the people of a district like ours. This has been my home for 30 years. I raised my son in this district, built my business from this district. This district is my home, and I knew I do need to run. There are a lot of things going on. I can tell you point blank, the moment that I decided, I was watching an individual, and this is a famous story, but I'm not going to talk about it, of someone being kidnapped from a college campus. Someone who absolutely was leaving a library, getting their work done, going about their business. And I said to my family at the time, I said, you know what? I have got to do this. I have to. I can afford to move away from my company to do this full time. Very fortunate in that regard to be able to be involved more in this district. And that's why I decided to run. And that was 5 months ago. And it has been just supercharged over the last couple of months. It's
Yeah.
going very well. We're talking to people all throughout this district, everywhere, regardless of party, regardless of affiliation, regardless of where they really stand on certain issues. I want to be there to talk about it.
So you feel like you're able to push the needle and talk and literally cross the aisles. That's what you're finding. The more you get out there and connect with people.
Absolutely. And I will say, I actually don't feel like we have to push anything. I think this is what people want. I know it's
Yeah.
what they want in their community. When you move into a neighborhood, picture your cul-de-sac. You've got
Mm.
all kinds of different neighbors, and you want to get to know them. You want to help them. Maybe one comes upon hard times. The neighborhood comes together and helps out. If that
Mm-hmm.
person doesn't do anything on their own and ultimately really ends up kind of failing themselves, the neighborhood will work on it. They'll help you. They'll try to uplift. But once and for all, maybe the house gets sold and that person has to move to another neighborhood. Those are the realities of life. But I
Yeah.
believe very strongly people want to help other people. They are focused on themselves and their own lives, especially a lot of times if they have children or close family that lives with them, they're going to be focused on the economics for that entire group. So I find that the divisiveness happens in our leaders, in our individuals who are looking for some level of power or need to operate in a way that grabs people and helps them follow one way or another. I don't think that's who the people are. I think the people really want what's best for them and their community. And so I'm not finding areas of struggle. I'm going to Republican events and Democrat events and talking to people. I'm a proud Democrat and I'm running as a Democrat, and I am very happy. I am a bold leader who is happy and proud to be a Democrat. But I will say our party has demonstrated a level of weakness. They have demonstrated a focus that I feel has been less connected on the people of our country, and certainly I'm focusing on our district, less connected on doing what we really need done in these districts. And so that's been my focus, is to say, look, for 30 years, for all intents and purposes, I've been doing these things. I've been on government councils, getting people jobs. I've been focused on working with nonprofits to help early childhood and education elements, to empower programming, to help bring people off the streets, to help feed people. And not because I think government is the entire answer to this stuff. Some of these things are community led and it's fantastic, but government should be open to that. They should be there to help and uplift families and uplift a community like ours in this district. It's an educated district. It covers Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, Carefree Cave Creek, Fountain Hills, parts of central and northern Phoenix, little teeny pieces of Mesa and Tempe. That's a diverse community. There are
Yeah.
2 reservations in this district. These are people, all of whom have the gamut of issues or the gamut of privilege. It's more educated district, but imagine empowering a district with all of that. Imagine bringing people together, creating bridges to allow for opportunity of jobs, business creation, things like that, empowering schools. I mean, our public school system needs their community, whether you have children in it or not, to help empower that as a hub for each community in and around that school. But we don't have leadership right now in this district that is helping us become more aware of that, that is providing opportunities through the federal government or even allowing those within state government to truly empower a district like ours to change, to build policy. And I'm going to Washington to build policy. So the nice thing is when we build these policies, it's for Americans. It's for everybody. When we focus on education, when we focus on affordability issues and do what we can to bring costs down for families, and there are limits to what you can do in government, but I'll tell you, if you don't get in there and try hard, if you're that person in the room that's going to fade into the background because you're worried about what your party thinks about you or what, some individual, maybe knowledge of something, you don't have enough of it, so you're going to hide out. These things are not acceptable in a representative, not anymore. We need to send good people to government who are going to work hard and make a difference for the people of a district like this.
Imagining that you are talking with other potential congressmen across the country, male, females,
Sure.
whatever gender, honestly, like however they identify. But how is that for you? And is the conversation similar across the board?
It's funny you asked that. I love that question. Thank you, Michelle,
Thanks.
for that because it's a little intimidating running for Congress, right? It's something, one has not done before. So you wonder what's on the other side of all these rooms you're going to go into and you're going to start speaking. And, these are people's lives and these are issues that matter to these people. So one of the things I was very fortunate to have an opportunity to do is to go out to the East Coast and meet with 7 or more members of Congress and do just that. We were there to talk about the redistricting in California because I was someone initially that was a little skeptical about changing all these voter, all these lines and all of these things. All this redistricting was really making me question the validity of our voter system. Well, after being there and seeing what they were focused on and how it empowered the districts to really become more in tune with who was in those districts, more representative, if you will, I was very much a proponent of their process. And I really very strongly believe in our voting system. Anybody that tries to lead you to believe that this system does not work and those results are not real, not without a problem here or there, but nothing compared to what the outcome has been. They are certified, they are important, and they are empowering. We can count on this system. And I knew this was a good thing. But talking to these other members of Congress, many of whom were freshmen, some of whom had been there, I think one for 40 years. Zoe Lofgren has been there for over 30 years. I'm not sure exactly how many. Had wonderful conversations with her about hope, about the difference, about how hard it is to be one person in 435 in the United States House of Representatives. But certainly after all those years, getting her to say something to me like, Rick, keep it up. Empower yourself to go out there, empower others. I mean, but come back with substance, come back with good ideas, with policy, with an expertise. I mean, that's the thing I'm most excited about and have been as I've started this. We have 12 issues front and center on my website that we believe are the most impactful issues that we can be focused on right now. And they are, I mean, people will go and read and they'll see front and center what we stand for, what we care about, what we know we need to listen and learn and maybe become more expert on. There's some water issues that we're focused on right now. There are some amazing tribal relations issues that are part of those communities that are different than other communities that we've been very focused on hearing what matters, what can we
What
do to
matters, what
help.
matters to the Native Americans right now here in Arizona?
I mean, first and foremost, it's affordability. It
Mm.
really is. I'm going to say across the board. I mean, I even went to an event where I had someone talk about how they were worried about the third home that they were purchasing because the mortgage was so much higher. I mean, that's their reality. The truth is everything is more expensive. And we look, healthcare right now. I mean, I stop on purpose and say, wait a minute, healthcare, because a button was pushed. This was created by this current administration and by this Congress. They created the big, better bill or the big, beautiful bill or the ugly this, that, or the other. That bill has been poisonous to the American people. And it was created without negotiation. It was created without conversation. It was created without a lot of thought for our future as we look at things like pulling the rug out from under people in 2026 for their healthcare premium costs. It is becoming so unaffordable that we have an immediate, brand new affordability problem. Sure, we had some issues before, and sure, transforming healthcare is important. I'd love to go to Congress and be talking about transforming healthcare. But right now, we're going to Congress. I'm going, and I'm working right now hard to talk to people about how we have to repeal that bill, how we have to pull back on what's been taken out from under the American people so some can profit. It's not okay. But
Yeah.
affordability issues are chief in most conversations I'm having.
How are you feeling about immigration these days?
I
I
mean,
mean,
there have been some advances. I'll say there have been some rattling of cages, and we're finding a few effects here that I think are things that we might be able to build upon to help grow. But we cannot be doing it with any level of cruelty, and we cannot be doing it on the backs of the good people who want to be a part of this United States. I just will not stand for it. The stories are horrible. These people that have been entrapped for months, people that are, documented and right here on our streets being pulled and put into these detention centers. This is cruel and unusual. It is against our Constitution, and I believe we should be fighting hard for it. I do not believe that any person in this United States should be able to go grab somebody, hurt them, and be painful without some level of due process, and certainly without a level of training that makes them, of the two that might be combating one another, be expert in how to be sure the other is safe. It's
yeah,
unbelievable to me.
it's
So
it's it's
immigration is something that we'll do a lot of work on to change and empower the system so that we can live by some good laws, I think. But definitely be transforming some and remove the cruelty and what we're doing to cause untold fear in people's lives because they're brown. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Big reason why I'm running for Congress.
yeah, and I'm so glad you are. Eh, For people who may not be able to send you fundraise, for
Mhm.
funds, and for
Sure.
people even like this, my podcast gets listened all over Canada, the US, some
Mhm.
and across and abroad. If there are folks who are wanting to be involved but can't even, write a check, what would you tell people, like, hey, this is how you can be involved and it matters? Because I think a lot of people feel like, am I really helping? Is this
Yeah.
really pushing? And so I think just hearing from you, like how regular citizens who really care about the same things you do can really help.
Yeah, I love that. That is a very interesting dynamic that I have realized as I've been running for what I'll say probably will be the hardest thing I'll ever do in my life. There
Mhm.
is no question that it's a very difficult thing, and raising money is so important. And everybody tells you that. In this ugly, horrible system we have to put one person into Congress for 2 years, the millions of dollars that it takes for that, I think is a problem. And we need to work that out. And when I get
Mm.
into Congress, I am going to work so hard to find ways so that it's not all about the dollars. But I would say there is hope. And here's why I know that's true. Because I'm talking to people in rooms who can't necessarily hand us a check. And they're saying, how can I walk streets with you? How can I talk to my friends and be better informed so that I can help them understand what the issues are, what the realities of some of these issues are? Because that's another very important piece. We are so clear and concise when we're talking about these things. It's why we put everything on the website so
It's
that
a great
people can
website, by
join
the way.
us and understand. Yeah, I agree. So they can go to our website, and it's not just me, but certainly let's just spend a minute talking about me, Michelle. No, it really
This is
is.
all about you. It's all about the people for,
Well,
that are going
I'll
to
tell you, I've
benefit
been
by
struggling
putting you
with
in
that.
the seat, though. It's going to
Yeah.
benefit. That's why
I
it
appreciate
should
it,
be
and I
about
know
you.
it, and I know it's a hard job to be able to stand up, which is why I always say I'll say anything about myself as long as we've got some substance behind it and we can prove that if I say I'm a fighter, I've been fighting. If I say that, I'm going to make promises, that there's hope for that promise and an explanation. So I would just say to those people that are maybe outside of the country or can't put a lot of money into a campaign, go online to mccartneyforcongress.com and check us out, because everything on there, we want your comments. We want to know what you're concerned about. And whether you're a constituent or not, I can guarantee you we care and will respond. Or follow us on social media and see how some of this is advancing. If you are local and you can't write checks, I say call us and help us walk districts. We'll come pick you up. We'll do everything we can to help engage you. We have done that with youth. I am so hopeful about the future because of the youth that I've met in this campaign so far. I mean, groups that have set themselves up through college campuses, through the good, hard work of their particular organization as young people, college age usually, but also high school, because they care. They've become voters at 18 years old. They care about the issues. They feel oftentimes unrepresented by all these older gray-haired guys, as I show off my gray hair. And of course, I'm older. It's why I'm very focused on youth. I want to listen to them. I want to hear from them. I want them to help build policy for my, not just candidacy, but when we get into office. Be a part of this because it matters. And their issues, like what we were talking about earlier, come down to affordability. I mean, they're seeing it almost impossible to pay for school. We need to work on that. They are talking about rent and cost of living in ways that, they feel like they're going to have roommates for the rest of their lives instead of be able to get married and buy a house or just live alone if they want to. These are things that are becoming less and less attainable for young people. And it is our job to fight hard for them, hear them, and make a difference for them. And so I'm very proud of that.
What are you most excited about with all of this?
Um, I really, truly love talking to the people. I
Mhm.
love going out and hearing the comments, good or bad. When we open it up to questions, I always say, give me the challenging questions. Give me the questions that are hard and specific. There have been a couple that have been so specific, I've had to say, look, you know what? I'm not positive, but I guarantee you I'm going to find out. And if you have any expertise, help me find out. Let's find a solution and answer and understanding on this. I just wear it on my sleeve and it makes me feel very useful. So I think that's what I'm most proud of, is I'm going into these rooms. I know how hard it is now, and I know how hard it's going to get when we get into the general, and that we're combating the other side in a way that I think is going to be evil. And I mean, bring it on. It's so senseless that we spend our time in America focused on that when we could be spending our time on solutions. Even if we
Right.
don't exactly agree, there's something we can sit down and do right for the people of this district, for example. And that's all I'm going to be focused on. So it makes me feel very proud. So every day I'm tired. Every day I'm working really hard, but I do enjoy it. I do think there is hope. I think there's opportunity. And I know we'll get to a place where people like me will be elected to Congress in government, uplifting what I know government can be for the people of our country. I
I
just
mean,
believe.
after this last little blue wave we had gave so many of us hope. But again, like you were just saying a little while ago, it's like, where and what is the DNC doing behind the scenes? It's like some are trying to sell a book, and there's a lot of other stuff that is scaring the crap out of people out there.
There are a lot of pieces to this system that are very broken for the people of this country. And I think electing somebody like me who will stand up to that is a start. Is it the answer? I don't know. Maybe it is. There are some other great young people getting into Congress. There's some people that are leaving Congress who really spent their entire career working hard for the people of this country. But we have turned it through financing and through money. We have turned it into a very different system that is no longer about representation, it's about power. That needs to change. And those people that, like you say, look at the Democratic Party or any party, because by the way, I hear this across the board. I don't know if you're in power, I don't care whether you're in power or not. People are disgruntled with the way this system is, you know, resting on the backs of the people of this country. And instead of going to Congress, I mean, they were gone for what, 7 weeks? I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unacceptable. A real solution there would be, hey, we're not open for government, but we are going to come. We are going to face the facts. We're going to work really hard. We're going to sit down for the people of this country because people will be out of income. Their job is at risk. Their family is at risk if we're not doing that in Washington. It's unacceptable. And yet it happens, and we're feeling a normalization about it. And so I am fighting very hard and very mainstream. I'm fighting very mainstream. I'm talking to everybody. I don't
Good.
care whether they're in power or not in power. This can't just be about one issue on one end and one issue on the other. We got to go right down the middle and be strong, bold, and say, hey, we're here to negotiate. We're here to have discussion. We're here to get knowledge and understand what the people of this country, and my district in particular, really want from someone who's going to Congress. And then
I'm,
do the best we can in a
I
system that
literally, I literally just got the chills from that because it feels very JFK to me. Because the one thing that I've always kind of thought about was like how this two-party system has been running for years. And it's been, okay, it's our turn. Okay, now it's our turn. And it doesn't feel like America is voting together any longer. And to me, he was kind of the last president. It was a little bit before my time, but just from the history books and knowing what I know, he sort of was the last person, the last president for the United States that could talk to both aisles where they were like, yeah, we're rowing this boat together. And the divisiveness, I mean, I don't always believe in the two-party system. I wish there were stronger independents sometimes. I wish there was a stronger Green Party because I think there's a benefit to all of it. And there's not going to be one cookie cutter politician that is going to appease everybody. We know this, right? But with fascism, the classic GOP, which I rather talk to, and then, the Democratic Party. So it's just a weird, interesting time
you're asking for sensibility. You're
yeah,
asking
that's it.
right, for people to hear your
Mhm.
concerns. You're asking for them to do the good work once you've expressed your concerns, to sift it through our system and output something that can help you.
Yeah,
That's government. You just defined why we built a constitution and why we have the Declaration of Independence, is so we can build a system that can help us like this. And it's not too grandiose or too young for me to say, being fairly new in this side of politics, for me to say that there's hope in that. There is. I believe there is. Because if it's one office doing the job, and there's several that are back in Washington that are doing that job, they're getting people's input and they are sifting through it and they're coming back with answers, solutions. And maybe they're not everybody's answer, but they're communicating. They're respectful. They're there not to hurt you, but to help you. Those are realities. Those are realities that, like we've seen in this current administration, we need to be vocalizing in a new way and empowering in a new way as Democrats or as people who care.
Yep.
Because that is powerful. People will follow that. They'll get something from it. It will make a difference, and it won't be cruel. It won't be control. It won't be these things that we're seeing on the other side that never, ever, ever last the test of time. Yes, we've seen them come and go, but they don't last the test of time. And I'm not someone who's going to wait it out. I'm going to fight it right here
Yeah,
and
you
now.
are. You guys, this is McCartney for Congress right here. This is what you get when you get to talk with a politician that actually understands our everyday woes, and also being really in touch with what's going on with his constituents, not only in his district, but I love the way that you're also thinking broader. You're like, this isn't just about my district. This is about a ripple in what's going on right now. And the more ripples we can have, right? The more we can,
Sure.
bridge this together and create something that's really, really special. What advice do you have for others, especially people from these marginalized communities, like, who think maybe they could run someday and,
Sure.
but feel like the odds might be against them?
I think we're finding that there are fewer and fewer people that feel like the odds are against them. I think they just know that they've got a harder and harder fight. And I hope that some of the sitting people that are in our elected positions do everything they can to empower young people or people who do feel marginalized to get out there and speak up. We're seeing a lot of it, and I'm a huge proponent of it. I mean, I am. And I don't care where your politics are. I don't care what you stand for. That freedom of speech, that ability to get out there and be heard, as long as you're not cruel. As soon as you become cruel and do those unusual things, I think there really can be a negative effect. But without that as part of it, people are doing amazing things. I'm learning from young people who are standing up in these protests. I'm learning from people who are telling their story and how the pieces of what's going on in this country right now are affecting them and their families. That's powerful. And for them to be telling their story, that's a start. Many of them start telling that story, they get heard, they start empowering their own purpose, and they get out there and they fight. And I'm a big proponent of that. So I would say be true to yourself. As long as you are focused not on just yourself, but on others, because that's what representation is about. It is about being there for others. It is not about representing yourself and being there as the one individual who gets or needs something from this process. That's a mistake. And we see a lot of that.
I love that answer. Marching kind of into a little bit more of a rapid fire. Um,
Woo!
I know that it is fun. What is your favorite place in Arizona?
I will tell you my favorite place in Arizona is my home. And that is the honest truth. I mean, there are
Hmm.
some beautiful places, and I've traveled just about every square inch. I love Arizona. Been coming here even before I moved here 30 years ago as a kid. Some of my favorite memories are fishing with my family and camping up at the Grand Canyon. I actually sometimes tell a cute story about lightning striking while we were fishing and my mother running and yelling, and my brothers and I will never forget seeing that woman run so fast to tell us that we got to drop our poles. Um, I love Arizona, but my home is just lovely. We have got, I mean, my husband and I are very happy here. My son, 28, who lives not too far, gets to come over a lot. We enjoy having people here. Our neighbors are just wonderful people, and we've been able to be very engaged with them. A lot of them are very supportive of what we're doing right now to have kind of that bigger cause. But that's a long answer to your quick fire, but I love my home.
I love that.
In North
No,
Phoenix, by the way, for those of you that are wondering. In the district, by the way, for those of you that
in
are
the
wondering.
district. I know,
In
I
the
love that
district.
actually. Is there a book that you are enjoying currently? Do you have time to read something?
I don't have time to read something right now, but I'm talking to friends constantly about some of these new books that I really want to read. And I actually just grabbed a book. In fact, it's right here from somebody who ran a business here in Arizona. I was talking to
Hmm.
him through the campaign. He said, well, I wrote a book about my experience. I said, what is it? He told me about it and I loved it. So I bought the book. It just arrived today. It's called Going Down the Road by Jim Armstrong. And I haven't gotten to it yet, but it's, lessons, as he says, learned on a journey undertaken from a Canadian mining town to an unlikely startup at a global presence.
I
So
love.
with the campaign, I'm really struggling because I don't get to read as much. But before that, I was reading anything and everything on society, on some of these great political movements that we've had in America. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it is fun. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
How do you take
Coffee,
it?
and that's it. A good strong bean, the boldest I can find, as dark and as black as I can get, and that's
I
it.
love.
I need no sugar. I need no cream. I just absolutely love a black cup of coffee. I just can't wait to wake up in the morning and have it. And I only have one because
Same.
I do. I would love to have two, three, four. I mean, I could drink it all day. I don't think I could. I could drink it all morning. And I used to have a lot more, but now just one cup, and it's just my favorite thing. I look forward to it every morning.
I love that. One person, living or historical, you would love to invite over to that beautiful home.
Oh my gosh. Well, since we're talking politics, I'll go there because there are others. There are philosophers and different people that lived in different times that built and created societies that I just am so enthralled with. I could sit down across a table with any of them. But I would say somebody that I've always thought would be really important is uh, Johnson, President Johnson. He was one who really worked through the legislature, as many of your listeners and viewers are going to know, and was very involved while he was president in passing legislation because he really cared about policy. He really cared about people and people that were not like him. There were quite a few people who looked at him and said, "Wait a minute, this isn't your experience. Why do you care so much about civil rights and some of these things?" And that's somebody I'd love to sit down with and really ask some tough questions and just find out, what motivates you to make change on earth, as I believe he did.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, the last question. If you weren't running for Congress, what would you be doing right now?
So easy. So I left my company in media to run for Congress. But as I was, just before I decided, this is what I was going to do, I was building a design company. I have always built homes and love design. That's something I still love. I love construction. I love building things and completing it. That always really satisfies me, which is why I can't wait to go to Congress so we can, get these policies passed. I don't want this stuff sitting around. I just have always loved that. And so that's very easy question. That's exactly what I'd be doing right now, probably is creating and building homes.
Rick, I am so glad that I got to meet you. I'm so glad that I get to introduce you to my audience. And I really appreciate your vision, your perseverance here. And boy, you're going to have some thick skin going into 2026. So I hope you have a beautiful holiday with your family and enjoy the peace before it really kicks up and
Yeah.
starts
No, we're
moving.
prepared for it. And thank you. I've really appreciated this time. I mean, when we first met, I knew we certainly hit it off on a lot of things, but to be
Yeah,
able to vocalize and build some awareness to some of these issues, I think is so important. And it does make a difference. And what you're doing is making a difference. So I was very happy to say yes and be here today. And I just can't wait for more to come. There's a
I
lot
know.
coming
Can't
down the
wait
pipe
to
that's going
join.
to be good for
Yeah,
us.
yeah, and I
Yep.
can't wait to come to some events and hang out with
Yeah,
you,
please.
do whatever I can to support or, MC any kind of thing. I'm just kidding.
Nice. Good idea. I like it.
Um,
That's
but
actually what this was. This was your audition for emceeing some of our political events.
there you
So
go.
thanks.
Exactly.
Congrats.
I'm
You
no,
did a
I'm
great job. Yeah,
I'm no Rachel Maddow, but I can hold my own on a stage. But
I
no,
can
I
see it.
it
Yes.
really was. I really feel like what you're doing is so valuable and so important. And me living here in Phoenix, just outside of your district, but still, it all affects us, like you said. What we said earlier, little ripple in everywhere. So. I'm happy to be a small cog or a small pebble in that ripple also. And again, just appreciate you and really look forward to you winning and to seeing your name all over the place over the next year.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for this tonight. I just loved every minute of it.
Thanks. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks for listening.
If you liked this episode, please hit the follow button and remember, sharing is caring. Until next week, stay proud, stay loud.